And she was in the room and involved in those conversations. She interviewed potential cabinet secretaries. The president-elect cared about what she had to say. I wonder, does Donald Trump care about what Vice President-elect J.D. Vance has to say?
No, he cares more about what Elon Musk has to say. That's very clear. That's very obvious. And so Elon, the first buddy, has put himself, sandwiched himself in between J.D. Vance and the president. That's the relationship that's going to play out here in Washington to watch, in my view, because you're now having power amass in a private citizen who is the buddy to the president, not an elected official, who's on critical phone calls with world leaders at the president's request. Now, JD, you need to probably check it, baby, because I think you've been checked.
Mm-hmm. You got to work your way in there, honey. Now you can't let Elon Musk box you out, boo-boo.
Got to make that's it. Boxed out, boo-boo. That's a hard way to go.
Talk about triple B.
Do you think that there comes a point, though, where there is a fissure between Musk and Trump? I mean, that is, he does seem to be spending a lot of time with the man.
Well, this whole, we're gonna create an agency to get rid of agencies is just BS. I mean, it's just crazy. Number one, I
hadn't thought of it that way. Create an agency to get rid of agencies.
I went to write it down. Actually,
you're creating an agency to get rid of agencies. I mean, how dumb is that?
And put two people in charge just to layer bureaucracy.
Put two people in charge.
I mean,
two people who are polar opposites in their agendas. Put two people in charge. Of undoing the work of the government. So, folks, all of this is smoke and mirrors crap. It's crazy. It is. If the Congress has any self-respect left, okay, I'll look for it.
Well, if they don't do the recess appointments, maybe they have some,
Well, that's up to Thune. That's up to John Thune and whether or not he will capitulate or control the situation. You are an independent. You are one of the branches of government. And so you have sovereignty in that regard. But I think in the totality of all of this, there's a lot of noise. Oh, we're going to get rid of this agency and that agency. But no one's press. Could you ask them the question? When you create that hole in this government service space, what are you replacing it with? How are you going to provide for those citizens who rely on those services of government to help them deal with some really profoundly important issues in their lives? So, yeah, create an agency to get rid of an agency. That
in and of itself, from the bully pulpit of HHS, could end up killing people.
This is life or death. Could end up killing people. Is this the kind of language that has to now be used, very stark terms about the risks of some of these potential nominations?
Yeah, I mean, I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not a doctor, right? He's a lawyer. It's not the same. Marco Rubio, it's a senator. He's been on,
foreign relations.
Right. Foreign relations. He has some, you may not agree with him totally, but it's a very reasonable choice. This person is not a doctor. Usually the head of this agency is a doctor or someone who's been to medical school. I also think that fundamentally, he is one of these picks where, and again, you saw this in Project 2025, the general goal here is to deconstruct the federal government and not, so someone like this leading a department about health and human services, it's very much a contradiction. And I think that is sort of a feature and not a bug of this idea. I don't know. Look, it's going to be the larger question is going to be if Trump is able to do recess appointments, that's going to give him power that he wouldn't otherwise have. If RFK has to sit through a Senate hearing, it's hard for me to imagine. There are a lot of senators who really are in the Senate because they believe that their job is important, right? And that the federal government can do good for people. And so I'm not sure those people, no matter what party, really want to see an end to the federal government helping people.
Look, we've talked during the campaign about how a second Trump presidency would be more efficient and successful at implementing extreme policies. What do the cabinet picks tell you so far about that?
Well, it's interesting because some are not so extreme and some are very extreme. And I think, look, there was in Project 2025 with all of these conservative think tanks, there was a sort of goal, which was to dismantle the administrative state. They even say that, right? Not it's, to people who believe in, federal government as a force for good, they find that to be pretty disconcerting, but that is the goal here, right? So some of these nominees don't necessarily seem focused on dismantling the administrative state, and some seem very focused on that. So like a Doug Burgum is not a huge departure in my mind from a normal kind of, he's a governor of a red state. It's very Trumpy to have a sort of mix of people who seem very focused on taking apart the federal government and who seem very, normal and traditional.
Okay.
When they go through cows. That's one of many reasons that's a dangerous proposal. RFK Jr. is probably trying to live up to some of the demons that have plagued the Dear Kennedy family's lives. And we are so fond of them in general. But there's something wrong with this gentleman, and all of his opinions are disruptive.